Hi everyone, it is Beth with Flying by the Seed of My Plants, and today I am going to start planting my tomatoes. I am a little late to the party, but it's still okay. I am still have plants for sale in my plant sale, so if you guys are in my neck of the woods. Anyhow, these are my San Marzanos, so I'm going to start with these first, but look how healthy they are. And my plants, they all have the beautiful, strong stalk on them, and I didn't think these guys, the San Marzanos, were going to do anything. The germination, I had germination, but when I up-potted them and some other ones, my beefsteak and some of the bumblebee tomatoes, I ran out of, well, most of the, I use a Trifecta Plus from my gardener. I have a little in this bag, so I'm going to use it. So I purchased another fertilizer, and the fertilizer, at first I thought maybe it was a soil because it was just certain trays that I used when I up-potted that looked like they were going to die. Well, actually they did die, a lot of them. And it was the fertilizer. It was too strong. It's a 13-13-13. MI Gardener Trifecta Plus. It has a lot of minerals in there, and it is a 5-10-4. So, it wasn't the soil. It was the fertilizer. It was just way too strong for the seedlings. So that's okay. Every year we learn different things. The one year when I up-potted my peppers, I was using Miracle Grow, and that was too strong and it has salt in it, so I killed a bunch of peppers. So, that's how you learn things, and hopefully, if you can watch somebody else and learn from their mistakes, that's even better. So, anyhow, here's my San Marzano. I did not think these were going to pull through, and right now, they're absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful plants. And I still have plants from that are in my plant sale out front, and I open it up typically when I'm not working or not in the backyard, where I could spend some time up there, but I still probably have maybe 60 plants, and I'm going to start planting my tomatoes. If I have extras of different things, like, that I said I sold out of, I'll put them out there, and in my Facebook group, I'll let you guys know, if you're watching. But anyhow, that's what I'm going to do with the Facebook group. And the Facebook group is Flying by the Seed of My Plants. We have over 200 people in there, a lot of knowledgeable gardeners in there, and it's a place where you could share photos of your garden, ask questions, and get more direct answers. And I don't have the answer to everything, but there are so many people in there that, have gone through, identifying the pest, what they did to deal with that pest, different things like that. So it's a small group, but a knowledgeable group. So you're more than welcome to check it out on Facebook. But anyhow, so first thing you want to do is, well, with me, my in-ground, I tilled it. A lot of people don't believe in the tilling, and I absolutely do believe in the tilling. I know there's beneficial minerals and stuff like that, and things that I'm disturbing when I till, but I do have trees around me, and that's another lesson I learned, with my raised beds. The tree roots are going to go for the fertile and well-watered ground. So my raised beds that I put in a couple years ago, this year I had to clean them all out because they were full of tree roots. It's like a hairnet that's all bunched up throughout the whole bed. So with me tilling, I don't have that issue in my in-ground. I've been gardening here where I live now. I think I've been here 17, maybe going on 18 years now. And I've never had, I'll find a couple big roots coming in and I just cut them. But nothing like what I found in my beds. And so anyhow, tilling works for me. So here is San Marzano. So, getting your tools together. I got my shovel, tomato, and different things that I use. So I do have some leftover trifecta, so I'll be using that. Another thing that I put in all of my holes when I'm putting my tomatoes in is worm castings. And I put a couple handfuls in each hole. The other is eggshells. So here I brought some that these are just the full eggshells. So if you're going to use eggshells, you know, I have always just really crushed them up really fine and put them in the hole. And the one reason adding eggshells is for the calcium. So this is what I had left that I was saving that I have not powderized. That's the other thing I'll show you. So you can use the shells like this if you want to save them. I've been saving these since, I don't know, the first of the year, February, whatever. And you could save them in, I used to save them in little Ziploc bags. It still gets stinky. So anyhow, these were from probably the last couple weeks, these eggs, shells. But I went ahead this winter, and this is, I powdered them up. So I've just put them in the oven on a low temperature and let them dry out. And then I put it in the blender and powdered it up. And these will, I'll put about a tablespoon or more in each hole. And that's for the calcium. And what the calcium does is it prevents the blossom end rot. The tomatoes need calcium to prevent that. And it is naturally in your soil, but sometimes it just isn't enough. So, especially if you're going to be planting in containers, you definitely want to either use the eggshells, you can powder it up, or you can get the tomato tone. And it's just really important. So in every hole, I put fertilizer, worm castings, eggshells, crushed up. And, you know, if you're using the whole eggshell, you really want to crush it up fine so it can decompose a lot faster, so it can get that calcium. And, or tomato tone. If you are planting in a container, once it uses up that calcium, it's gone. So you have to probably every 3 weeks keep adding the tomato tone or your powdered up calcium that you did from the eggshells. And so I think this year I'm going to actually, I always put them in the ground, my tomatoes. I think I'm going to do a couple in a container just so I can, you know, have the knowledge to tell people the good and the bad or whatever. Because people ask me, you know, they plant them in containers, and I have never done it. So it's hard to tell somebody what they should do. But I did watch a really good video, which I posted in our Facebook group. This woman gave very wonderful details, so I'm going to follow hers. And she said they've been experimenting over 10 years with different methods for planting tomatoes in containers. And her method that is on that video in the group works. So I'm going to do it. And the size of the container and everything else. So anyhow, I'm going to get on to planting my tomatoes. And another thing that has come up, a lot of questions, is okay, some of the questions that have come up during the plant sale, and I've seen it on, you know, different YouTube channels, is, you know, how do you plant your tomatoes, number one. My method is, you know, I always take off these bottom leaves. I just pinch them off. You can cut them off or pinch them off. You don't want to rip it. And I know sometimes I show people this and they're like, oh my gosh, you go that deep? And actually I can take this one off or this one off. Anyhow, right now, just, so you take off all those bottom branches. You know, some people you can leave it on. I guess you don't have to take it off. I just like to take it off. And I don't know if you can see, there's a bunch of hairs on the stem of the tomato. And those will all form roots if it touches the soil. So meaning if you plant it deep, all of that, you're going to have a root system that's going to be deep. One thing I've seen a lot is, and people question this too, is, some videos are telling you to go sideways. And yes, naturally the tomato is going to bend up and go straight up after you put it. But to me, I'm not going to do it because number one, I think it's wasted space. Because, especially if you have a tomato that is, a lot taller, and you're going to lay that whole thing sideways, I mean, you're taking up over a foot of space. I think deeper's better. That's my opinion. So I'm going straight down, deep. And the other concern I would have about going this way is when you put your tomato cage. I mean, you don't want to accidentally pierce the stem. So if you go this way, you're not going to, or the roots, and you want to put the cage on while they're right after they're freshly planted, within at least a couple days or within the first week, because once the roots start getting established, you don't want to pierce those roots. Then anyhow, so that's my opinion on planting it this way or plant it this way. And I'm going for this way. It works for me. I'm not saying anything's wrong with the other one. For me, it would be wasted space. So, let's get on with the planting. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera so you can see. Okay, so I am going to start right here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, grab a couple handfuls of worm castings. Worm castings is worm poop. The other thing, I have the shells I can use, so I'm going to use this just so I can show you how I crush it up really fine. I mean, you just really want to crush it as fine as you can. Put that in the hole. And powdering it up, I'll tell you, is a lot less messy. Actually, I'm going to put a couple in here. Because it's still, those are still kind of slimy from the egg. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to put in is some fertilizer. I don't know, that might have been like a tablespoon of fertilizer in there. Then I mix it all up. So one thing, I just don't want my tomato roots sitting right on top of all that. So I'll mix it in. Loosen it up. And look at how beautiful that is. Beautiful root system. And this is something I'm going to show you too. This thing my son got me for, I think it was Christmas one year. Anyhow, it is my most favorite thing. All right, so I'm gonna put the tomato in. Bring the dirt down and around it. And I always push down to get a lot of the air pockets out of there. First tomato plant in for 2024. My San Marzano. And I love San Marzano for making salsa, sauce, canning, spaghetti sauce. Anyhow, it's delicious. Okay, so, hang on. Okay, so I have a lot of tomatoes to plant, so I am going to go ahead and dig several holes just to speed it up a little. And as far as spacing on my tomatoes, take into consideration your cages and getting around it to weed. So the next one I'm going to go about here, because that cage, I use the square cages, and this will leave some room for me to get the hoe in there and weed. And so on to the next hole. Wow. I don't know how that got in there. Okay. using the ground up. Now you can even drop the stems in the hole. They're just going to decompose anyhow. Okay, so I took all those leaves off and I'm going to put it in the ground. I want to show you this too. So on here you could see suckers. Like this here is a sucker. So here's a branch here, here's the main stem, that's a sucker. And I take these out. You can just pinch them out, and I call this the armpit. But the suckers actually grow into a whole new tomato plant if you let it. But it can suck the nutrients, you know, or, well, the nutrients and the energy on growing those suckers out. I do prune them. Some people don't. Again, it's your own preference. So taking all these off and leaving this much on top and taking the rest out and planting. And I do save all my containers and tags, and I am going to let these, I got a whole pile of them that are going to soak and in bleach water to get all the writing off, and I can reuse it next year. So, all right. One row done. Now on to the next. And just letting you know some things that I have learned. I use the square tomato cages. They fold flat. I love them. I got them from Burpee. They are expensive, but they last forever. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In past years, which I don't do this anymore, but I thought, oh, I'll do it diagonal for weeding purposes. Well, that was the worst mistake I ever made, because once you put a cage in the one spot and then a cage diagonal, and if you keep doing that, I just made an obstacle where I can't get in there and weed very easily. Lesson learned. So now I'm just gonna come straight back from here. And one thing, rototilling in my garden here, since I put the fence up, I can't really get along the sides real well because I'm afraid of the tins getting caught in the fence. So, you know, I like the fence, but at the same time, I kind of wish I didn't have it, the permanent, but anyhow, I do. So I just got to work around it. So in the corners, I got grow bags. And I'm planting potatoes, and also I got some silver slicer cucumbers that are going to go in containers. So in the areas that it's really hard to dig or whatever, I'll be using grow bags. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. I'll show you, hopefully, when I'm done. Hopefully I get done today. I do have to be at work. So I'm hoping I get this. What time is it? Ooh, it's almost 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go for another hour and see how much I get done. Actually, maybe another hour and a half. Anyhow, I'll show you what I got done when I'm... So I have about, let me see if I can make this farther away. Nope. That's as far as it'll go. Anyhow, I got as many as 19 in. 15 are my canning and salsa tomatoes, my San Marzano, and my Amish paste. And then I added 2 of the mortgage lifter. And the mortgage lifter is like a beefsteak, a pound or more for each tomato. And then I added 2 of my Paul Robeson. So I still have the other half of my garden to go. And they are going to be all the unique tomatoes, the Ananas Noor, and different ones I tried this year. Willie Nelson, no, I'm sorry, Boxcar Willie, Ananas Noor, Boxcar Willie. Oh, I have the giant gypsum that has to come in, pineapple. I still have some cherry tomatoes. And anyhow, so I think I could squeeze on this side, hopefully maybe 24 more, which would give me quite a few tomatoes. And the other thing I forgot about when I was planting, in my freezer I had some bananas that were going bad. And, well, it wasn't mine, actually, it was my mom and stepdad. And I'm like, are you guys going to be using these bananas? And of course they said no, so I went ahead and I said, well, I'm taking them. And I threw them in the freezer so that I can use them with planting my tomatoes. So the last 4, when I went back over by the table, they were defrosting and very soft and gooey. So I brought them back to the garden, and I put about half of a banana peel in each hole, if I remember. So these 4 got it. I still have those, which I'm going to put in a baggie and put back in the freezer, I think, because I have to get ready for work. So I'll be planting the rest of this when I get off work tonight. So that over here took a couple hours. and I'm not the fastest worker, so whatever, you know. Um, but I take my time. And so anyhow, in every hole went the fertilizer. Trifecta Plus is my favorite. I just use the last of it. So I have some, what the heck is it? Plant tone. So I'll be adding that to the rest of the holes. And I'm ordering more of the Trifecta Plus from MI Gardener. But I know it just wouldn't be here in time for my tomatoes. But I can side dress all of my tomatoes and add more later to fertilize. And of course the worm castings, I put in the eggshells. And, you know, take off the bottom leaves as much as, or stems, you know, the side, to bury it as deep as I can. And then as they start growing, you know, I keep taking off those bottom ones until they're like 2 feet, at least 2 feet from touching the soil, the leaves. Because you don't want them touching, the leaves touching the soil, because then that's where you get the blight, there's spores in the ground. And I plant tomatoes in here all the time. And I've been very fortunate because, and I'm sure it's from trimming those leaves way up, and I don't water the leaves. When you want to water just the base, and you want as less splash up on your tomatoes as possible. You don't want that. But anyhow, plus I take off the, what do you call them? Oh, my mind's drawing a blank. The suckers that grow in the armpit of the tomato. I take those out so that it has room and airflow, and that will keep the blight at bay. And trimming, you know, up at least 2 feet from the bottom. And, you know, when they, as the season goes on, later in the season, a lot of times I'll just let the suckers go, you know, on the top part, but not as it's growing. At least 4 feet of it, I remove all those suckers. And that's after trimming the 2 feet. So, okay, and then I have more tomatoes going in my raised bed with the arches. So, but I wanted to go over how I plant my tomatoes, and because some people did ask me, and I wanted, you know, to put it out there on a video. And I guess that's it. I have to get ready for work. I'm going to clean this up. I don't think it's supposed to rain today, so some of the tools I'm just going to leave out here for tonight. But anyhow, all right, you guys, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you on the next one. All right, bye.